How many of you believe that the world would be eventually occupied by artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and 3D printings in the future? One day perhaps the world is going to be like what we will go through in our presentation, the animation here in a minute. As you can see, we build a 3D city here. The development of 3D printing machines has opened up a whole new world of possibilities. There are numerous off-the-shelf consumer-grade 3D printers available online, and Thingiverse is one of the communities, the online communities. Thingiverse were founded by MakerBot, a 3D printer manufacturer in 2008. Users can share their creations with digital design files through Thingiverse. They can either upload their projects and share innovations with others, or they can download the files. With the growing of 3D technology, debatable issues arose. 3D printed guns is one of them. In 2012, Thingiverse detected a collection of blueprints for gun components. Although in its terms of service, it states that users should not upload designs of weapons. It never enforced actually until their lawyers sent them notices and it finally removed from the website. The story has not done yet. Rather, it escalated 3 years later. A young man named Cody Wilson developed his own website sharing printable 3D gun files. People started to pay attention to 3D guns. Congressmen, lawyers, opinion leaders, and etc. They all started to discuss. As the biggest platform, Thingiverse removed gun files. But still, before they removed gun files, hundreds and thousands of individuals have already downloaded the files. Certainly, the potential risks of manufacturing 3D guns have threatened the safety of public. Those unregulated weapons distributed, downloaded, and manufactured by all walks of people without background check and regulations. But can you ban people from sharing guns through network? Actually, you can't. So the ethical dilemma here is salient. The fact is the act of sharing the files that allow people to print guns is very likely to protect it under the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. The right is given to people by the country. It's the right of freedom of speech. And the court has found a wide area of electronic communications, broadly considered information, to qualify as protected speech. So banning the distribution of pictures of guns would be treated as unconstitutional. Have a look at what regulations we have currently. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, Bureau of ATF have regulated that firearms sellers should be licensed and buyers must undergo a background check. However, it's perfectly legal to manufacture and own a firearm, including a 3D one, for personal use, and no license or regulation required. But there are some states, like California, they require the 3D guns to apply for a serial number. It's actually from this year on, all 3D guns should be reported for a serial number. But still, someday in the future, 3D guns will be a threat. What can 3D technology company like Thingiverse do to deal with such a dilemma? Only if all the stakeholders are taken into consideration can we finally have a conclusion. So we have a thoroughly stakeholder analysis in our next section.
Firstly, we discuss the issue from a chain of actions. The chain all starts from sharing 3D gun blueprints online. Firstly, users upload 3D gun files, then other users can see the design and download the blueprints. These users possibly further make their guns at home and use 3D guns under no specific regulations. In this way, one potential outcome could be that 3D gun owners commit a crime. Though we make several assumptions to come to the end, all these outcomes can be sourced back to the very early stage of distributing these blueprints online. The issue makes unregulated 3D guns spread and further jeopardizes public safety. Now let's use the ethical reasoning framework to see how stakeholders are affected individually. I want to stress that some effects are not directly incurred by the distribution action itself, but they are the possible results caused by the chain of actions.
So now let's dive deeper into ethical reasoning. 3 ethical foundations are taken into consideration: harm, fairness, and authority. Let's focus the first one, harm. The sharing harms the Thingiverse users. Thingiverse provides an opportunity for people to be exposed to guns. For vulnerable users, such as youngsters, they have the access and can possibly go through the whole process shown on the bottom here without effective supervision. Secondly, for users who are potential criminals, they can download the files, make their own guns, and commit crime through those unregulated 3D guns. This process may also injure bystanders, so the process harms victims. From the perspective of companies, the harm caused by unregulated 3D gun could put the company under the spotlight and jeopardize the reputation of the company for a long run. Not just for Thingiverse itself, but also its parent company, MakerBot. Employees may be criticized by the public by accusing being irresponsible. The notorious news may also cause the decline in stock price, which harm the shareholder of Stratasys, which is parent company MakerBot. It also hurts traditional gun manufacturers. The easy access to blueprints, cheaper 3D printer price, less skill demanded for 3D printing altogether makes 3D gun manufacturing less expensive, more practical, and widespread than before. The traditional gun manufacturers face competition coming from 3D print tech. In terms of the second ethical foundation, fairness, generally, gun dealers need to go through paperwork to obtain a license, while for people who download the files on Thingiverse, they can make 3D guns at home and sell them without going through these complex processes. This is obviously unfair. About the authority, the third ethical foundation, the government has been trying to control guns to protect citizen safety. Specifically, the Bureau ATF regulates that individuals engaging in the business of manufacturing firearms for sale or distribution must be licensed by ATF. Even though an individual may generally make a firearm for personal use, the sharing is under no supervision. Individuals can enter into the gray area of 3D guns to make a real gun, maybe do harm to safety. Now I'm gonna pass to Kara to talk more about considerations for Thingiverse.
Now that we have all this information, there are 4 categories of considerations for Thingiverse: short-term, long-term, meeting duties and rights, and community norms. In the short term, Thingiverse must consider how their actions will be immediately perceived. On the one hand, parents and the more safety conscious are likely to praise their actions, but they also may face backlash from their users, who would like to share what they make and enjoy the projects of others. In the long term, Thingiverse needs to pay attention to important government and policy issues. As Cindy mentioned before, the cost of 3D printing will continue to go down. As this happens, guns may be printed more and more, and it's likely that government regulation will expand. This will mean that the regulation and monitoring of uploads to their websites will need to become much more rigorous. And as we have discussed previously, Thingiverse needs to consider how it will uphold its duties and the rights of their customers. Will they uphold freedom of speech completely with an open platform, or will they censor their users' uploads in the interest of ethics and public safety? Lastly, community norms may be potentially disrupted when gun plans are not regulated. It is fairly well known across the U.S. that acquiring a firearm requires a background check and paperwork. And even if an enthusiast were to mill their own gun, it would be expected that they would have a lot of experience. But now, with the ever-increasing availability of 3D printers, these norms will begin to change. The community at large may not know how to comprehend such a shift in the way that guns are acquired.
For Thingiverse, the company definitely is aware of this issue, so they have already taken actions to tackle those problems. Firstly, They specified the statement in the term of service concerning what kind of file users can or cannot upload. Secondly, for user input, other users can hit report theme button if they find files relevant to gun or weapon. Thirdly, the administration will review those items and take down those items as inappropriate and ban those accounts that have violated the term of service, but the site still goes largely unpoliced. To further improve Thingiverse as a public sharing platform, we have provided several recommendations toward 3 stages of how people use Thingiverse. On the first stage, before people upload and share their file, Thingiverse could use their user database to profile those people by collecting their search history within Thingiverse website, whether it contains critical words such as gun, pistol, and how frequently they search those words as critical words. Outside of Thingiverse, the company could also collect browsing history, like whether those people have been highly exposed to violent content. On the second stage, during people upload the file, screening is very necessary by using text and graphic analytics. Thingiverse needs to screen the title and the description of all the files, especially with tags in gun, handgun, pistol. And the screening graphics is to detect whether the file contains firearm or AR lower receiver, which are the critical part to distinguish a real gun or fake gun, is also very important. On the third stage, after people upload the file, Thingiverse can control the comments actively talking about gun and warning those accounts or maybe ban them. In addition, Thingiverse needs to be proactive to reported files and find those reasons behind the reporting, and then mark those accounts for further warning. Thingiverse regulation could also intervene. Popping up terms of service asking for consent every time when users upload file could also help. Having councils to routinely check terms of service and the related law and regulations is also necessary. So those further recommendations lead the ending of our discussion in ethics and 3D printed guns. Thank you for your time.